Hi everyone, welcome back to Cooking with Mitch, and this is sage and onion chicken balls with roast potatoes, creamy leek and cabbage. I'll apologise, I filmed it in portrait at the beginning. When I noticed my mistake, I did change it. So this recipe you will need some mustard, some butter, salt and pepper, single cream, cheese, a leek, cauliflower, savoy cabbage, some oil, sage and onion stuffing, a bowl, grater, jug, plain flour, onion, another bowl, some gloves, some chicken mince, seasonal, an array of pots and pans, some Maris Piper potatoes and some sweet potato. And let's get started with the chicken balls. You'll need the sage and onion stuffing, 500 grams of chicken mince, salt and pepper, some oil and some boiling water, and of course some seasonal. So to start with, tip your stuffing mix into a bowl when you've moved all my pots and pans out of the way, which most of them I don't use because I decided to use the air fryer. But yeah, add your 170 grams of sage and onion stuffing into a bowl. Then add 450 ml of boiling water. Grab a spoon, give it a mix. Make sure it's all mixed together. Stick a plate on top of your bowl and put it to one side for at least 15 minutes. Now Carl has appeared after peeling, chopping and washing my potatoes ready for parboiling. He's very helpful in the kitchen. So all I'm going to do is add them to a bit of salted cold water, put them onto parboil. When they're fork tender, I'll add them to the air fryer after I do a few bits. And this is where I decided not to bother with the cauliflower. My spicy cauliflower cheese will come in another recipe. So next I'm going to make the creamy cabbage and leeks. This serves about 4, so you will need 2 leeks finely sliced by my husband as I pass them back to him, and 6 cabbage, savoy cabbage leaf, finely sliced, no stems. So he uses a sharper knife than I do, so I will give them to him to do for me. Right, next, let's get these potatoes in the pan and get them on to parboil until they are fork tender. Adding a bit of salt. There you go. Give my cooker a wipe, you know I can't help it. Plus, whenever you use those little salts, half of it goes on your cooker. But I did have a comment from someone saying, why am I obsessed with wiping? It's like, why am I keeping my cooker clean? But anyway, these are the leek and the savoy cabbage, lovingly sliced, very nice and thin by Carl, and washed. So the next thing for me to do is to get my big non-stick pan. And let me make sure I can get the right camera angle. Too far over, that's better. Right. And in that, I'm going to add a little bit of butter. It's about 40 grams of butter. And I'm going to sweat down the leeks and the savoy cabbage until it's soft. In my jug, I have put 200 ml of chicken stock, which is roughly 1 cube, 200 ml of boiling water. Give that a stir, let that dissolve. Decided not to use a stock pot, just a good old stock cube. Right, I'm just going to add my 40 grams of butter into my pan, which I'd already measured out before we started. And I've decided to start adding my top tips. So once I manage to get all this butter off as much as I can off this paper, my top tip is, when you have finished with your butter, fold your paper up into a nice small neat square, put it in a sandwich bag or wrap in a piece of cling film, put in your fridge, and it's perfect for greasing those cake tins or your lining pans when you are baking. Anyway, let me just get that butter in the centre and get it melting. And there's my stuffing. So I'm back to my stuffing. Grab a fork and break your stuffing up in the bowl. But because you've left it for 15 minutes, you know how it all will settle to the bottom. And you don't want that. So just use a fork, get it forked up so it's all loose back in the bottom of the bowl. Just doing this while I'm waiting for my butter to melt. So while that's all broken up, move this lid out of the way. That's it. I will grab my seasonal, tip a little bit of that in with my stuffing. Just a little bit. Can be too salty if you add too much of it. And a little bit of black pepper. Tiny bit of salt. Now, it looks like we use a lot of salt, but it's actually low salt. We run a charity for homeless people and people that are struggling, and every year we put on meals, plus we do night patrols, and we always have to have lots of these little salt and peppers that we buy from the supermarket. When we get them back, or people leaving behind, when they're finished, we will add our low salt to the pots and recycle them. So that's why. So anybody who thinks I use rather a lot of salt, we actually don't, and it's also the low salt. Anyway, my butter is melting. Not quite yet, but it's getting there. Right then. In the meantime, I will take my 500 grams of chicken mince and open that up. There we go. It's, like I said, £2.60 for the 500 grams of chicken mince at Lidl's. I will add that to my stuffing mix, making sure to take the paper back out of it once I've added all the mince in there, because I don't want to be adding paper to our dinner. And give that a really, really good mix together. Right, now the butter has melted. Let me add my cabbage and my leeks to a pan and start cooking that until it is soft. Making sure everything's coated in that butter. This is great, especially if you've got anybody who's not keen on vegetables. As soon as you add cream to anything, they all love it. A little bit salt, because there's nothing worse than veg without a little bit of salt. And a little bit of pepper. Give it another mix. There you go. Put a lid on, always helps to get it softened up quicker. Test my potatoes. Sorry, I've got hiccups just then. I do apologise. Test my potatoes, make sure that they are boiling nicely, and then put on these gloves. Unfortunately, these gloves are a little snug, but they do the job. They stop the raw chicken from getting under my fingernails and everywhere else. Right, get your pan, spray it with your spray oil or rub oil in it, however you'd prefer to grease your tin, and spray a bit on your hands. Another top tip, Oil your gloves or your hands because it stops those pesky chicken balls from sticking. Now it's all mixed up, make your chicken balls roughly about a golf ball size. Now you can measure them so everyone is exactly the same, but I've made this so often that I roughly know the size of them. And this recipe I actually originally got from a lovely lady I saw on Instagram. I will make sure I tag her down and her details down below in the description box. There's all the balls all ready. Now the best thing to do to stop them falling apart is to cover them and put them in your fridge until you're ready to air fry or roast them or whatever you're going to do, because it will help keep them solid. Right, lid off, and let's get this creamy leek and cabbage finished off. So give it a stir, making sure it's all nice and soft. Get it down from all over the edges. Yep, that's definitely ready for the rest of the bits and pieces to go in. So now I will add in a tablespoon of plain flour. Just plain flour. Cook that through for a couple of seconds. Sit and stirring that in. And then I'm going to add half of my chicken stock. Just half. And then stir that until it starts to bubble again, because of course the chicken stock's cooled it down a bit. Okay, give that a stir. As soon as it starts bubbling again, add the remaining bit of your stock. There you go. That's added in the rest of the stock. Give that a stir. And the next things to add is the mustard. So a good teaspoon of mustard. We love mustard in anything we have in this house. So it's probably a little over a teaspoon. Yeah, definitely. That was very heaped. And then you're also going to add your 120 mils of single cream. I'm just going to stir in my mustard a bit first. That's it. Grab your cream, grab a jug, and measure out 120 mils. Okay, I measured it out in my measuring cup. Normally we would use elm lee. Just because you can keep it in your fridge longer, but the supermarket had sold out, so we had to have just ordinary single cream. Give that lovely, lovely stir. Test it to make sure that you have seasoned it properly. Put a lid on and put it to one side, and that will be your creamy cabbage and leeks all done. Like I said, the lady who came up with this recipe, I will tag her details below, because after Christmas she was fed up of roasts and the big old bits of chicken, and my dad loves chicken. Being a West Indian man, that's not shocking. They love their chicken. But I am sometimes fed up of the big pieces of chicken all the time, and we eat such a variety of meat, but he doesn't eat lamb and he doesn't eat beef. So finding different ways to do chicken for him that's not just a piece of roast chicken chucked on his plate or a piece of breaded chicken makes a big difference. So I really appreciate this lady putting these recipes on, and you will see me making quite a few of her bits and pieces. So I'm just going to move them. Right, now my potatoes are fork tender. Just give it a wedge. Did you see my cloth smoking then? I just wiped the hot hob. Oh well. So take the lid off, put it back on, and give it a really, really good shake. I think I just got notifications up in the middle of my video. The cheek of it. Anyway, this is how I do my roast potatoes. I get some coarse cornmeal. Yep, super fine. cornmeal. It's coarse, but it's super fine. So you don't want just the coarse. You want the super fine. It is slightly coarse, but it's still fine enough that it's not gritty. If that made any sense to you, good luck. Go for the super fine. You can get it in most West Indian shops. You can even find it in Tesco's now. Now, add some, not a particular amount, as much as you like, to your potatoes. You can just see. There you go. Put your lid back on and give it a damn good shake again. Now, wherever you bash the potatoes will make them fluffy, the edges, and then the cornmeal will stick to those fluffy edges and it will become very, very crispy. So that's that. Spray a bit of spray oil on before you put them into your air fryer. Over to the air fryer we go, and turn the camera around the wrong way again. Oh, Michelle. Right, so this is my new air fryer that I'm using instead of my Ninja air fryer. Yeah. So, which you can actually hear beeping in the background while I'm cooking another recipe. And thank you. There you go. As you can see, my potatoes have been layered on 2 different trays in the air fryer. And according to the manufacturer of your air fryer, that's how you cook your potatoes. And then you can put them on again if you want them more crispy, take them off out earlier if you want them less crispy. But there you go. That's my potatoes. Split in 2 trays. You don't want to overload the one. You know, this, like I said, I like this new air fryer because it has 2 shelves. When my big Ninja that steams and roasts and air fries and pressure cooks and everything else like that only has 1 round basket, and everything goes in there, and you'll find some bits are piled on more than others are piled on. But this Scoville, with it having 2 shelves, I can split them up. So there's me just selecting 200 degrees on the potato setting. There you go, for roughly about 20 minutes. And, oh, I've done it for 180 degrees. And back to 200, thank you. There you go, let's get that started. Brilliant, 20 minutes. And I'm going back over to my balls, just checking them as I had them in the fridge. I'm going to put them back in the fridge because I know it needs them for about 20 minutes. And in the meantime, it's time for me to tidy up and get a cup of tea. There's my roast out of the air fryer. Crispy all around. And I've just put the stuffing balls on a tray. Tray 1 for the air fryer, and tray 2, they will go in until they're golden brown and cook through. And there we go. So there are my chicken balls with saved and onion stuffing, creamy cabbage and leeks, and white and sweet potato, all done in an air fryer, just waiting for me to pour over some homemade gravy. Thank you so much for joining me again. I love cooking with you guys. It's become my favourite thing to do, is to cook and chat along with you. So join me in my next recipe, and have a good evening and stay warm. Bye.